Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and I'm here with the Augen GenTouch78. And the reason I'm looking at this again is because I've installed a hacked piece of software called PandoraDroid, which replaces some of the software that came with the tablet, makes it a little bit more usable. I'm going to just go around and remind you, this is a device that got a lot of attention when it was released last year because it was so incredibly cheap at $150. Now that's really nothing. But it's a 7-inch tablet with an 800 by 480 pixel display, a relatively slow processor, and it's got a micro SD card slot, mini USB, power headphone jack here. On the back, you'll actually find the buttons for home, menu, back, and search, which is a rather unusual placement. There's a stylus that slots into the back, and you can use that for safekeeping because there's a resistive touchscreen, so you do need to either use a stylus or a fingernail. You can't really, I mean, you can poke with your fingertip, but you have to press pretty hard. And then there's the speaker on the back here, which is reasonably loud. Overall, the experience of using this tablet early on was not great. As I mentioned, it's kind of slow, and it's got relatively poor viewing angles, as you can see here, and you know, the screen resolution is not that high and so forth. But the PandoraDroid actually makes it a lot more usable because you can, first of all, it replaces the program launcher with ADW launcher, which is much more customizable. You have a 3D launcher here. You've got the ability to edit your home screen in a number of different ways. You can create up to 5 home screens, I believe. And make other changes, including you can, if you don't want the Android market there, instead you want maps here, you can just drag it and change what's on the dock. Now the Android market actually works, which is nice. You can go ahead and access the market, download applications, and so forth. That's something that sort of almost kind of worked when the GenTouch78 came out, but it doesn't really work anymore. It's going to take a minute here to load, probably. Oh, here we go. So you can see a list of applications, and I'm not going to go through actually downloading and installing one right now, but it does work properly. And another thing is that the developer of PandoraDroid included these rotate buttons, which you can find in the app drawer. And I just went ahead and put them on the home screen here. And that's because there's no automatic detection of orientation. So if you want to switch from landscape to portrait and back, you can press these buttons and it'll rotate the screen for you so that you can read a book or do whatever else it is that you want to do that requires a change in the orientation. As I mentioned, the overall performance is still not great, but this PandoraDroid goes a long way to making the device a little bit more usable. That's the notification for getting a new email. So, for instance, you've got the working market, you've got the rotate buttons, you've got up here volume buttons, menu, back, home button, so makes things a lot more usable if you don't want to sort of have to reach behind the device and try to figure out with your fingers, is that back, is that home, and so forth. Show you that in terms of just doing some basic web surfing. It's not going to be the fastest device at loading things, and this keyboard was clearly designed for a smaller device. It doesn't really do touch typing very well because you have to press very hard with your thumbs, so you sort of have to tap out one at a time with a stylus. But, you know, we've got web pages loading here. No support for Adobe Flash, but the browser is not too bad for just sort of reading the news or checking your email or doing anything along those lines. Let's go back to the home screen here. I also installed a couple of games which show some of the limits of this, as does that in terms of touching the wrong item. Come on. Swipe. So here's a game that has some 3D graphics. Works very well on my Google Nexus 1, same resolution display, but much more powerful graphics processor and CPU. Loads much faster on the other device as well. Let's do a quick race here. Normal race. Select. Select. And so you can see the game sort of works, but it gets very stuttery, which makes it kind of hard to play at certain points. So that's racing game, Turbofly 3D. And then by the same token, let's take, well actually, before we look at another game, let's take a quick look at the YouTube app, just to see how video works. Actually, I haven't tried this since upgrading to the Pandora ROM, so let's see.
Hi, this is Brad Linder with Liliputing, and I'm here with an application today called Cam Translator, and it's a pretty nifty application that you can translate into. Say you've got English, Indonesian, Yiddish, Italian, Hungarian, Greek, Welsh, Turkish, Thai, Swahili, etc., etc.
So, video looks pretty good, and that's on the high quality setting, so that's not bad. And then before I conclude here, we gotta take a quick look at... Come on. There we go. Angry Birds. Now, like the Turbofly game, you'll notice it takes a little while longer than you might be used to load. And you've got this sort of strange graphics glitch here. Now the game actually does play, but for some reason it doesn't really show everything properly. So you can see it actually plays pretty smoothly. But when it comes time to look at the scores, you don't really get to see how you did. So, the Pandora ROM definitely makes the experience of using the GenTouch78 much better, but it's not perfect. You get what you pay for, and if you get a really cheap Android tablet, maybe beggars can't be choosers. But it's nice to know that the people who did rush out and buy this at the time do have some options to make it a little bit nicer, but you're not going to get a faster processor or better graphics from any sort of software for the most part. So there you go. That's a look at Pandora ROM and some of the advances that it brings to the Augen GenTouch78 tablet. This is Brad Linder with Liliputing.